So a few people wanted to know how I made my sonic screwdriver work so that not only can you activate it when it's in the closed position, but also when it's in the open position. Now luckily, or unluckily, depending on how you want to look at it, I actually made another one of these from a friend and their kid broke it like it is so. So I can show you exactly what I've done now. So the first thing you gotta do is remove this little end piece. You're not gonna need him for a while. Now, if you look closely, you can see what I've done is I've dremeled a small little channel right through here. And it's right on those kind of fake laces that used to be molded into this black plastic piece. Now, the channel is about 10 millimeters in length and about 2.5 to 3 millimeters wide. And what you're doing is you'll be very careful when you're dremeling through. You can even like etch it out with a razor blade or a X-Acto knife. But you're going to start to see that there's red past this part, and what you're actually seeing is an internal structure that's connected all the way down this button that goes to the inside. You can see when I push this red button, you can see that inner tube is moving. So you need to clear a hole all the way down to that red tube, because that's what we're going to be hooking into to make this thing work. Now, the next thing I did is I 3D printed one of these guys, which actually looks like this once you get it 3D printed. Now, if you look very closely, there's two little holes here in the bottom. And using my old friend paperclip and Dremel, I cleared out those holes and then I super glued in two little pins which act as nice strong connection features. Now then, inside of my channel, I've actually dremeled two holes that match the same spacing of this. If you look closely, you can see that those holes are not centered. They're actually slightly low, and that's because you need to have this button be able to slide up and have enough travel where, you know, your little connection part is not going to ram into this plastic. So I actually drilled them a little bit low, and that way you can see when you hook this in, make sure you get it the right curve. When I push the button down here, I have enough travel where this doesn't hit into the top or the bottom of my channel. If you drill your two holes and you find that you don't have enough travel, you can just pop this back out and then extend this down or up so you have enough room to make it around this little button. Now, you don't have to use this little bit. I have this on my Shapeways site, but you can use, you know, a piece of paper clip bent around to make a little thumb slider. You can use a screw or whatever ghetto solution you want to figure out. But this is the one I went for. And so the other thing, once it's in there and you have your two holes lined up and everything lines up really well, go ahead and put your finger on the inside here, push back the spring, and get back to where those paper clips are. Now, if you feel them poking through, you need to shorten them because you don't want anything jutting through that red sleeve part or it's going to cause issues with the item. Same thing if you have any flash or extra plastic that gets pushed through when you drill your two holes with your good friend, the drill bit. So once you have everything like that, you've dremeled your hole out and you have two little matching holes that you made with a paper clip that this guy fits into and sits into snugly. All you have to do is take some super glue and glue that guy in, which I'm actually going to do right now with a little bit of super glue on this piece. Again, make sure you get it in the right way if you're using this particular piece so it curves and matches the contours of this outer piece. And then what I do is, again, I'm going to reach my finger in here, squeeze down, and then I'm actually going to slightly keep moving this thing just in case that glue wants to glue the red button and the tube to the inside wall, which you wouldn't want, otherwise this wouldn't work. So just glue it down, hold it, and wait for it to dry. If you look down into this tube, you should hopefully be able to see that there is a little tooth on the inside of that red sleeve. And that is the tooth that actually hits the button when the red sleeve slides forward that activates the actual sounds. And so you cannot stress this enough, do not want to cut or sand off that little bump. It's very important that it's there. So quick thing I forgot to say, before you glue in the slider, when you Dremel your hole through this black plastic piece, it's not actually black, it's brown that's been painted black. So go ahead and take like a black Sharpie marker, I use black paint, and paint the inside edges of your channel. That way you won't be able to see it from the sides once everything's in there. So go ahead and paint that on, then go ahead and glue your little thumb slider on there. And so you can see now that when I hit this back button, the thumb slider slides forward and vice versa. And that's all that this modification does. It basically allows you to push this bottom button from up here. And so all you do is you take the top section and reattach it, like so, and then close it. Now, the thing to remember is when this thing is closed, the spring that actually dictates how hard it is to push this button and vicariously slide this forward is compressed. And so it's really hard to push this red button here on the bottom when it's in this closed position. So I wouldn't recommend using the thumb slider when it's in the closed position. Go ahead and use the old button right here to activate it, and then you can, when you pop it open, you've loosened up that spring, so it's really easy to press. And now, with your thumb in the exact same position, instead of pushing this front button, you simply push down and slide forward. And that's all you're doing. So you can push the main button, pop it out, and push the thumb button. Now, there are other modifications. You can look on YouTube, other people have modified it. I'm a big fan of this one, particularly because you're not adding redundant buttons, you don't have wires or weird bits hanging out all over the place, and it is really responsive. Using this slider system, you can still do the triple or quadruple taps very easily to get the alternate sounds out of your sonic screwdriver, no problem. But just like that, you can see, you can now use it just like it appears in the actual show. So you Smith fans out there can have a little bit more fun with this quick little mod. So again, you can use anything you want, but if you want to get this particular little slider knob that I designed, you can head over to Shapeways and pick it up, maybe when you're picking up something else.